For professional advice with a personal touch, consult Fuller Landau, Chartered Accountants and Business Advisors. Click on flmontreal.com.
Welcome to today's Entrepreneur, a program about the entrepreneurial spirit that drives Quebec business. My name is Dan Delmar, along with Fuller Landau's Josh Miller. Good evening, Josh.
Hello.
How are you this week?
Excellent.
Great. We will keep you informed as the hour progresses, by the way, if there is breaking news out of Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu. So just stay tuned to see JD for that. Our next news update is at 7:30. But if anything major happens, any announcements, we'll bring that to you live before then. On the program tonight, we do have a theme that we're going to get to in a second, which is really interesting, particularly as in online era. And we're going to talk about brick and mortar stores versus online stores.
And, you know, today, how relevant is it today? I mean, a lot of people do both, no question about it, but few stick to one, absolutely one or the other. So in a few moments, we're going to hear a little bit about the differences between H5 Décor and Clark Street Mercantile.
All right, but first, let's get to some a few news stories that have to do with entrepreneurship and business. And one that is kind of interesting is, I mean, there's a whole trend now with crowdfunding, and so we see it with any number of products or services. We see it with potato salad, you know, that's being crowdfunded apparently. Now, apparently, there's a whole airline that's been crowdfunded. So, what's your take on this? And are you skeptical of the whole crowdfunding movement?
Can't be skeptical if something's working. So it's working, but the question is for who and why. Crowdfunding certainly evolved from where it started a while ago, and it's basically just another form of financing. I think today, you know, and I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs will agree that going to the bank to get financing isn't necessarily snapping your fingers and getting it. The banks have always been risk averse, some a little bit less than others over the years, and they go through cycles, but definitely risk averse. So where do you find your other money? Do you go to angel investors? Do you go to targeted people? But of course, the internet and being online has an absolutely huge reach. And there's no question, I think many people will agree that there's a lot of money sitting on the sidelines. There's a lot of people ready to invest their money into something that's going to be a success. And crowdfunding is just one way to do it.
Is crowdfunding sort of code in some cases for businesses that can't get traction in traditional routes? Is this sort of like the new last resort lender?
I don't know if it's a last resort today. Certainly maybe a couple of years ago it might have been a last resort. Today, because of the success stories that we do hear about it, it's not the last resort. That being said, if you can't get traditional financing, which again is not always the easiest to get, and as much as you can have a great business plan and good backing, sometimes banks only want to lend you your own money. You know, sure, we'll give you $500,000, put $500,000 in a term deposit, and here's your $500,000. Well, you know, life doesn't always work so well. Yeah, thanks very much. I'll take my own $500,000, cut you out of the equation, don't have to report to you on a monthly basis, and go from there. So crowdfunding, and there's many different forms of crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is just a big name for different types of financing, because it could be a form of debt financing, could be a form of equity financing, could be just a form of financing where you promise a trinket to somebody if they want to throw in $25 worth, as we see with some of the Kickstarter campaigns.
Is the popularity of places like Kickstarter and other crowdfunding tools a sign that perhaps banks are becoming too risk adverse, that they maybe should be taking a few more chances on entrepreneurs?
Absolutely, but it's very difficult to change big elephant spots. You know, the big elephant that lumbers along is not going to all of a sudden change course on a whim. Versus the Kickstarter versus people online, individuals that at a snap of a finger can decide where they want to put their money.
This story from the Globe and Mail is pretty interesting as we head into the holiday season. We already see some Christmas commercials and displays out there, which is a little early, but nonetheless, there are predictions that the holiday season will be tougher for Canadian retailers this time around. How come?
And, you know, and Halloween hasn't even hit yet, so you still have some time to go. But there's no question, listen, the big boys are downgrading their estimates. The Walmarts of the world are saying they're going to sell a little bit less. And the Sears of the world, that Sears is undergoing other changes, but their predictions are going to be less. So when the big boys are saying the sales and the retail are going to drop, well, then that certainly trickles down to anybody and everybody. So what does that mean for entrepreneurs? It doesn't mean you're out and you're lost and you can't do anything. It just means, you know what, you got to pull up your socks and you got to make sure you're a little bit different. You got to make sure you're giving the right service or the better product, and it's going to keep them on their toes, because there's room for business, for people to grow and do business, but you got to do it smartly, you got to do it intelligently, and you got to differentiate yourself.
This interesting story, talking about online business, is pretty interesting, because one of the perils of putting a lot of your business online, of course, is that you subject them to the trolls, and sometimes there are a lot of negative comments, even slander, directed towards your business. And this interesting story out this week is all about that, and how some companies are now going after legally people who post negative comments on Google, on Yelp, and on others. Is this going to be something that companies are going to have to be more conscious of?
I think companies are probably conscious of it already. The question is, what do they do about it? Is it worth spending the legal dollars to go after and to silence the people that are giving negative feedback? Or do they spend their dollars on the right PR and fixing the solution? And I think entrepreneurs really have to figure out what is the essence of the problem to begin with and go from there. We're not going to get into the right of free speech. In many democracies is actually a lot stronger, the rights for free speech, than in Canada. But from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I think what they have to learn, what entrepreneurs have to learn is, well, what's really the root of the problem? Is somebody complaining because we're not doing something right, or because there's a gripe against a stupidity that they have to find a better spin and a better way to get the right message out there?
Finally, I want to spend some time talking about BlackBerry, because things are looking up for BlackBerry. Well, things are looking less down for BlackBerry, I guess. Is that a bit fair?
Things are looking big and square with their new passport that came out for BlackBerry.
Yeah, I want to get one soon myself, because this iPhone thing I'm not really into. But there are rumors now. BlackBerry's stock price went up after they were rumored to be in the line to purchase Lenovo. Computer maker.
Lenovo was actually looking to purchase BlackBerry.
Oh, sorry. Oh, really? Oh, so
Mm-hmm.
that actually makes more sense, because BlackBerry wouldn't have the cash on hand. So is that good for BlackBerry? Could that save them?
Well, I think the message or the takeaway from that is, how does a business kind of put itself out there to be the right target, to have the right look or the right balance sheet or the right assets or the right I guess aura to be sold, to have a better value or a bigger value in the market. And BlackBerry it's a very long story. You could talk for hours just on the history of BlackBerry, but if you apply it to the entrepreneurship side of things, and you look at companies that say, how do I want to, if I want to sell my business down the road, which is the goal of many entrepreneurs, if they don't treat it like a baby they have to kind of take and cherish forever, then it's, you got to make your business look a little bit, you got to make it look real. And you have a lot of entrepreneurs that like to minimize their taxes, but want to sell their business. So those are two very conflicting avenues, because minimize your taxes means you show less profit, but maximizing the value of your company means showing bigger profit. And if you want to if the ultimate goal is to sell your business down the road and get the most of that multiple of your bottom line, then there's no question that you got to sacrifice a little bit, pay a little bit of the taxes today just to get the bigger bang for the buck tomorrow.
Did BlackBerry make a mistake in straying too far from their core, the core sort of business tool for entrepreneurs and for executives that they became popular for?
Well, it's very possible. Listen, it's tough when you're competing with the likes of Apple and the iPhone and these gorgeous products that every consumer just wants to have. Some people lose their basics. Some people lose their focus on what they were originally set out to do. And I think BlackBerry in this effort with the new CEO that's running it says, you know what, we're there as a tool. We're there as a business tool. Let's be the best business tool possible and not just be a pretty gadget.
Today's Entrepreneur on CJAD. We'll start our theme this evening, brick and mortar versus online retail stores, with our guests in just a moment. But first, it's 7:15.
For professional advice with a personal touch, consult Fuller Landau, Chartered Accountants and Business Advisors. Click on flmontreal.com.
7:21 on today's Entrepreneur, inspiring stories from outstanding business people. Dan Delmar and Fuller Landau's Josh Miller with you. And Josh, it's our theme show this evening, brick and mortar versus online retail. And this should be pretty interesting. So in studio, we have two of our guests, Robert Courey of H5 Décor. He is the online guy. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you.
And we have Scott Meleskie, who's with Clark Street Mercantile, and of course, they are the brick and mortar. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks, Dan. Hello.
So we start a pretty basic question. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business? Perhaps, Rob, we can start with you.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Josh, for having me. Thanks, everybody. So H5 Décor, what we do is we offer a virtual online marketplace of home decor products that change every week. So we offer a new line of home decor items, keeping it fresh every week for our members to enjoy, and keeping it very interesting and always new and exciting.
What exactly do you mean by home decor?
So we offer everything from furniture to textiles, linens, art, rugs. I mean, anything really that you would see in your home, and anything that's really exciting enough to offer. And especially, we love conversation pieces, so it's something we really look forward to offering to our members as well.
And Scott, what about Clark Street Mercantile?
Well, essentially, Clark Street Mercantile is a shop geared towards men. So it's we like to call it a gentleman's boutique. It's kind of a general store type of a place where we carry everything from fashion to accessories to apothecary products to art as well to stuff for the home. So it's a place where you can come and buy pretty much anything that touches various aspects of your life, really.
Now, when you were thinking about getting into this business, did you think about selling online, or did you really only think about, let's open a retail store and see what happens?
Well, my background actually is in advertising. I worked for 10 years at different agencies, and the main thing that I did was online, was pushing clients online at first when online was a new thing, and then it was pushing clients towards social media stuff. So that's really my background. But the whole philosophy of our store is kind of to take a step back and to get back to the sort of old school way of shopping, where you can come in, touch the products, feel the products. And I think it's super important, especially in our case, because we're trying to bring in a lot of exclusive products, so products you can't find elsewhere in the city, and sometimes that are really hard to find. So it's really advantageous to be able to have that product in your hand, and it helps you know the brand history and the way it's made, and the craftsmanship that goes into that product.
More on brick and mortar versus online retail with Rob Courey of H5 Décor and Scott Meleskie of Clark Street Mercantile just after the break at 7:24.
For professional advice with a personal touch, consult Fuller Landau, Chartered Accountants and Business Advisors. Click on flmontreal.com.
And Josh, it's our theme show tonight, brick and mortar versus online retail. In studio with us, Rob Courey of H5 Décor and Scott Meleskie of Clark Street Mercantile.
And Scott was just telling us how actually his background was more in the online world, certainly in the Facebooks and the social media and marketing, all of that. Let's turn to Rob and say, well, Rob, where was your background and where did this idea come from?
Well, it's funny enough, it's kind of reverse here, because my background actually is in sales, selling to brick and mortar. So I have a lot of experience in the brick and mortar field, and found with my online business that online was definitely a way to go, because I just love the fact of being able to reach so many people, and really being able to kind of touch on different markets, as well as the fact that we found that with online, where you're really able to adapt to the trends quickly, which is which is sometimes difficult for brick and mortar also. So that's really, really great as well. Always offering the hottest, newest products on every week for us, for that matter, or on a whim, and changing with a click of a button, which is really exciting. Also, the fact that we can also do, because our overhead in online compared to brick and mortar necessarily is a little cheaper, we actually pass on those savings to our clients in the form of a discount. Becoming a member offers you that availability, and also, of course, taking advantage of these new products changing weekly.
Now, Scott was saying earlier that he wants his customers to come in and touch and feel the product. you don't see that? You don't think your customers need to touch and feel and kind of sample your product as they go online?
Well, that's definitely a something we do think about and respect. What we tend to do is actually take it one step further and say that our photography is definitely our main asset right now, without actually being able to touch and feel, but actually capturing the quality, the makeup of the products with our photography is something we actually invest a lot in. So that's how we capture, really what the product is, so that our customers can actually see and understand what they're buying. That being said, we have a really easy return policy also, because of the fact that people can't touch. People don't always get it right the first time, and we definitely respect that, and accept, of course, an easy and seamless return policy, so that if they don't like it, they can always return it, and then of course look for something else that fits their space.
Now, this is just a very quick question for both of you. When people are starting up a business, there's a lot of planning and time that goes into play. Without getting into too much detail, how long did it take from the first initial thought of starting your business to actually opening the doors or opening online to sell? Scott?
That's a really good question, because it's hard to pinpoint when you get that first thought. But way back when, well, I had a few. I was working on a few blogging type sites, magazines, online magazines and stuff, where we would, be talking about the latest and greatest products. And it really, at that point, struck me that wouldn't it be great to have a physical location to, showcase these products in person.
How long did it take from idea to opening your door?
It took about, I would say, from it took about 6 months, I would say, from the time where I was like, I'm quitting my job, I'm doing this full time, this is what I really want to do and what I want to take on, to the actual date that the doors were open. I would say it was about 6 months, but that was really quick, honestly.
And Rob, very quickly before we go to break, sure. How long did it take from idea to?
Sure, a little over a year. We really wanted to make sure that we defined the idea properly.
More on brick and mortar versus online retail in a moment.
For professional advice with a personal touch, consult Fuller Landau, Chartered Accountants and Business Advisors. Click on flmontreal.com.
Welcome back to today's Entrepreneur, a program about the entrepreneurial spirit that drives Quebec business. Dan Delmar and Fuller Landau's Josh Miller with you, and it's our special theme show, Brick and Mortar versus Online Retail. In studio with us, Rob Courey of H5 Décor. He is the brick and mortar guy. And we have Scott Meleskie. I'm sorry, online guy. I got that confused. And Scott Meleskie is the brick and mortar guy, Clark Street Mercantile. Welcome back, gentlemen. And it's interesting, Josh, because when we look at a lot of brick and mortar stores, a lot of them are deciding to go online, but there's also a lot of online stores that are now deciding to go brick and mortar. So are we going to sort of come to a time when you'll absolutely need both at once?
Well, the question is, what are you selling? And what are your plans? Do you have a longer term vision, or are you really just dealing with the next 6 to 12 to 18 months? And there's no question entrepreneurs think beyond that. I mean, I guess we can turn to Scott and say, do you have, certainly with your background, and the listeners heard before that you want people to come in and feel and touch, but do you have a long term plan about, being online?
Of course.
And by being online, I mean selling online.
Yeah, no, I think in today's time and age, it's extremely important, if not imperative, to have both, at least to some degree. For us, we wanted to firmly establish ourselves in Montreal, in our physical location, and after that, move on to selling online. We get a lot of customers that come in from other cities, that come in from other countries, and we also want to be able to serve them, but that in-store experience is what's key for us, and that's what we want to focus on. So as until we get that 100% right, then we're not gonna sort of spread ourselves too thin and just sell online to anyone.
Rob, it's still a little bit fresh with H5 Décor, but would you think one day, if you build up the brand big enough, that you would want people to have a place to go?
Well, interesting enough, I mean, H5 Décor Inc. being an online that changes our our turnaround of products weekly. I think that if that ever came up, we'd have to figure out a way to be able to do that for brick and mortar as well, so we have really interesting concepts right now that are called pop-up shops that happen all over the cities. They happen for a limited time, similar to our concept but online. And that could be definitely a way, future plans or a way to go. You never know.
Now, you guys both started different businesses, online and brick and mortar. The challenges when you're first starting up, I guess might be a little bit different. Rob, when you said it took about a year to get going, and what would you say was the biggest challenge or hurdle, or maybe knowledge aspect to overcome?
I mean, definitely being online, your whole business is your website. That's really your ticket. And one of the largest challenges for us was to make sure that our front end, which is what our users actually see, and our back end being efficient enough to make sure that the experience for the customers are seamless and easy, was the biggest challenge for us, which I think we definitely overcame and hopefully succeeded with. And I think that's really what was a lot of the thought process behind developing and creating H5 Décor Inc.
And Scott, what would you say was maybe one of your biggest challenges in opening up your store?
I would say the biggest challenge was the moment where you finally decide, okay, let's go for it. Leaving your secure 9-to-5 job and becoming an entrepreneur, so to speak. I think that was a moment where, there's always some self-doubt, I guess, if you will, or, you're questioning everything you're doing. It's obviously very stressful, but I think it's important to rely on different resources that you have around you and bounce ideas and get feedback and ultimately, just take that decision.
So do you guys have people to bounce your ideas off of? Do you use family? Do you use friends? Do you have a mentor? Who do you, Scott, maybe is there somebody that you use, or you said, you know what, I know it all, I can do it?
No, I don't. I think that's the one mistake that you can fall into, is thinking that you know it all. And I think it's important to ask for advice to people who know what they're talking about, to experts in their respective fields. So I'm lucky enough that my wife has a finance background, so all the money things that I have no idea about, that I'm terrible about, she's my go-to person. Obviously, people within the industry, in retail industry, people that are in the advertising world. I mean, of course, I relied heavily on for our branding, for our website, for that type of visual, identity. We worked with a great agency for that, and just business decisions in general. It's just pooling your resources and asking people, what do you think and what works for you.
Now you both have to deal with, I mean, whether you're online or you have a store, you got to manage inventory. Right, you got to manage the ins and outs, the number of SKUs. Leave the cash flow aside for the moment. How did you learn to manage your inventory? We'll start with Rob and his online business. Goods are coming out; they're going out the door. What was the learning curve?
Well, what's interesting about our concept is that our inventory, not only does it turn often, but it actually sometimes goes directly to our clients, directly from the source. So that actually saves us a lot of time in the lead time from when you purchase to receiving the goods. So really, our inventory is it turns that quickly, so it doesn't even have to necessarily come into our warehouse, but we're having it come directly from our DCs out in the US or Canada directly to your door very, very quickly. So it's a good way to turn inventory pretty quick. And
yourself, Scott, your experience in managing inventory, because it's fashion, right? So
yeah, that's mainly fashion, but there's other things. But honestly, I had no experience in inventory management, so it's been kind of trial and error. But part of our whole business model is the whole curation aspect of the shop, is that we're really spend a lot of time focusing on selecting the right products for the mix of inventory that we have in our store. So because it's, especially the fashion stuff, like you said, it changes over a minimum twice a year with the seasons. So you have to make sure that you're not ordering too much so that you're stuck with, tons of
Are you
dead
making all
stock.
the fashion decisions yourself?
I am actually.
Rob, are you making the decisions of what product comes in?
Well, we have a good team of buyers on staff, but definitely, I give my 2 cents into what looks good and what doesn't. But I have to say, my wife as well is a huge inspiration in terms of what to offer, what not to offer. She's a huge online shopper, and let me tell you, she gives the best advice. And of course, my family as well. We work in a family business. So this is, again, something we ask a lot of opinions of our family.
And Rob is a recent father 3 weeks ago.
Right. Thank you
with
very
a second
much.
daughter. So
Thank you,
awesome
guys.
with that. Honestly, guys, it's 2 very different businesses, but also really a lot of similarities. And one aspect we didn't touch on yet, but we're going to touch on next is marketing when we come back from the break.
Let's do marketing, and we'll have Stephanie Darwish, marketing expert, in to talk about that, brick and mortar versus online. That's coming up next on today's Entrepreneur, 7:45.
For professional advice with a personal touch, consult Fuller Landau, Chartered Accountants and Business Advisors. Click on flmontreal.com.
7:49 on today's Entrepreneur. Welcome back. Our guest for the special edition of the program, brick and mortar versus online retail. We have Robert Courey of H5 Décor and Scott Meleskie of Clark Street Mercantile. Let's also talk about the marketing when it comes to online versus brick and mortar. And Stephanie Darwish is here, marketing consultant with Fuller Landau. Welcome back, Steph.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, in terms of marketing, is one type of business easier to market than the other?
For me, I don't think so. I have personal preferences of what I like to market compared to others, but I think each business type, online or offline, has what's easy and what's challenging.
And certainly, the H5 Décor is online. There's no question. The background that Scott has in social media is certainly, I'm sure, uses it to the nth degree. So let's talk a little bit about social media and marketing and the different, I guess, facets or options that are out there, and how do we track them?
So, online, offline, I think everybody has a presence online. And Facebook has a wonderful, if you're a brand and you have a Facebook page, has a wonderful insights tool for your page if you have over 100 fans. And you get to that by going to your page, and at the top there's an insights tab. And if you click it, there's a lot of information in there, tons. And it's pretty recent, I think maybe less than a year old, their revamped insights. My favorite thing on earth to look at.
That's very deep, Steph.
I really like Facebook Insights.
Your next words better say either your son or.
Yeah.
I agree, they're great.
They're
They're really useful.
They're really great. And if you go to the post tab, you can really explore reach and engagement. And reach is how many unique people actually saw your post. Because as you know, not everything you post on Facebook is seen by everybody who follows you. And engagement being a click, a comment, a share, those are your engagements. So you can really drill down into your post and see, is your reach doing well? Are you reaching the right people? And is your engagement? And then there's 3 options. So option 1, if you have a high reach and a low engagement, that means that maybe you have to rethink your content. So you're reaching a lot of people, but nobody's liking it, commenting, or sharing on it. So maybe rethink what you're doing. Option 2 is low reach, high engagement. So great, you have awesome content, but now nobody's seen it. So Facebook being a business, it's very easy to solve. You can quickly pay to boost a post. So sometimes I'll throw $10 out at a boost, and my reach will go tenfold from 200 people to 2,500 people. And it'll help you in future posts as well.
Now, is Facebook really the best at it? What about a LinkedIn or Twitter? I mean, can you get stats from them as well?
Yes, you can. All 3 main. Are they the 3 main ones? Yeah. So LinkedIn has from your LinkedIn company page. Sorry, you can go to analytics. I believe it's on the page itself. Doesn't offer as much information as Facebook. Facebook, you can drill down into who your fans are, what posts they're liking, demographics of which posts are hitting which people. Twitter, more recent than Facebook's Insights, actually, if you go to analytics.twitter.com and you register, anybody can register, brand, person. It takes 2 business days for some reason. But after those 2 business days, it populates it much like the Facebook Insights. they're very close and a lot of information.
Anyhow, the key here is really trying to really measure your marketing efforts and see what works. And when we come back from the break, we'll kind of, I see Scott sitting there because that's what he did for many years. So I'm sure he's got a couple of comments to throw in. Certainly Rob as well, as we figure out what's kind of worked for them. And of course, their one piece of advice for today's entrepreneur, coming back after the break.
Robert Courey of H5 Décor is with us, Scott Meleskie of Clark Street Mercantile, and Stephanie Darwish, marketing expert with Fuller Landau. 7:53 on CJD.
For professional advice with a personal touch, consult Fuller Landau, Chartered Accountants and Business Advisors. Click on flmontreal.com.
7:55 on today's entrepreneur. Brick and mortar versus online retail. Rob Courey of H5 Décor with us. Scott Meleskie of Clark Street Mercantile. Stephanie Darwish is here, the marketer from Fuller Landau, talking about online versus brick and mortar.
And we're talking about marketing of these two different businesses and social media. So we kind of turn to, I guess we'll turn to Scott first, and certainly with his background in marketing and social media. What has worked best for you in your brick and mortar store?
Funny enough, it's creating a persona around the brand. But what I mean by that is social media is not the best tool to use to push products, to push sales, to push, to push messages like a typical advertiser. So it's really important to create that one-on-one relationship with your follower, with your fan, whatever it is. And one great way to do that, and something that we find that works well and that people seem to appreciate, is to sort of show, say on Instagram, different things that we're doing not related to being in the actual physical store. So, when we're going on vacation, what's inspiring us? When we're going to a brand's factory, what's going on, who's the people behind the products that you're seeing in store, that kind of stuff. I think it goes a long way into forging that bond between us as a brand, to our clients, to our customers, and the brands that we carry to the end customers as well.
How do you connect your consumer to you?
It's super important.
And Rob?
We found not only is Facebook and Instagram and all these social media is helpful, we also found bloggers and influencers in our business is also a huge indicator on getting your message out there and really attracting new followers. So we really rely heavily on a lot of bloggers locally and internationally, as well as industry magazines, family, friends. But our social medias are, of course, a huge presence. And a lot of the time what we also do on our social medias is not necessarily only talk about sales, but we also offer discounts and discount codes and stuff like this as well that people can find on our social pages for all that.
You guys ever consider traditional media advertising? Would you ever do it, or do you?
I guess it would depend on the situation. I mean,
but not currently.
Not currently. It really depends on where your customer is. And right now, our customers, that sweet spot, 18 to 35, say, they're online, and it's the most cost effective, efficient way of reaching them, I think.
I would say definitely would think about doing it. I mean, I don't know when the last time I was watching TV or anything like this where I didn't have my iPad or phone next to me where I can just easily hop on the internet and check out what I just saw as a TV ad or a radio spot for that matter, and want to check out more. So definitely traditional marketing is huge, definitely could be an option for us going forward. Sure.
We can probably sit and chat a whole hour just on marketing. But as we approach the end of the show, as we always like to do, and it'll be very interesting to hear both your takes on it. What one piece of advice would you give to today's entrepreneur? Rob first, online.
I would say, don't be afraid to take risks. I think, if you have a dream and if you really believe in an idea, to really, exhaust everything that you can to try to make that a reality. And I think, being successful, it's just the best thing in the world to know that you really accomplished something like that. So I would say to anybody thinking about a new idea, I would say go on it full on and just awesome.
Excellent. Scott?
Follow your passion. Find something that not only interests you, but that you are passionate about. And kind of to what was just said, dig deep, go all the way, and see what comes out of it. If you don't take a chance, then you'll never know what will happen.
And Dan, certainly the takeaway that I get from today is, in as much as how they offer their products might be very different to their consumers, but how they deal with all the issues behind the scenes and setting things up and running it and dealing with the people and aspects, because there's still online aspects to deal with it as well. That's something that you absolutely entrepreneurs always have to have. And of course, you believe in your product like they all do. That's first and foremost. So it was really interesting to hear the differences and of course the similarities.
Thanks, Josh, and thanks to Stephanie at Fuller Landau for the marketing tips, and to our entrepreneurs, Rob Courey of H5 Décor and Scott Meleskie of Clark Street Mercantile. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us. Appreciate it.
And we'll see you back here next Monday night at 7, Josh. The Exchange is next at 8 o'clock.